Fellas, what is going on? And welcome back to the channel. My name is Hart, and today I'll be breaking down this two-game NBA slate we have here on DraftKings for Monday night. 100K up top to first place, so a ton of money to be won. I'll be doing a game-by-game breakdown, as well as talking through some of my favorite early look core plays, all that good stuff in this video. So make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. If we get 30 likes, that'd be huge. Really do appreciate all the support. Hit that like button, and let's get into the breakdown. Now, I am getting back to my roots. I'm recording this the night before. I know for a while now I've been recording it just the morning of, but I want to start getting back to the roots of recording this the day before, so you guys are able to watch this going into tomorrow. Just so you have some more time to break down the slate, as well as I have a full write up tomorrow morning coming out for this slate. Getting back to the roots there as well, which will be on my Patreon link down below. So make sure to check that out if you want like a full updated write out of this whole entire slate breakdown, as well as updated core plays that'll be on the Patreon link down below. But yeah, going into this two-game slate here, we have Milwaukee versus Miami for this first game here. I fully expect Giannis to be back now. We officially don't know if that will happen, but they're now down 2-1. I think it's a 99.9% chance that Giannis does play, unless something happens where he tweaks his back again, kind of warming up, getting ready. But yeah, I think Giannis is good to go. No chance that he's going to want to, try to come back when they're down 3-1. So I think he's good to go here. So at him at 10-4, I think he looks fantastic. Obviously, there's that risk that maybe he falls, retweaks his back there, and he has to sit out. But at 10-4, it's really hard not to get Giannis on the slate at that price tag. As you can see, there's a decent amount of pay up options. You got Jimmy, Anthony Davis, LeBron, Giannis. So there's not like a huge price discrepancy between like the highest paid guy or the top like end option and like the second place, like there has been for like probably since the start of the plan. There's usually like a huge difference, but right now there's not. So it does make it more viable to get to Giannis. Might lower the ownership of guys like LeBron and Anthony Davis. So we'll have to wait and see for that tomorrow with updated ownership numbers. But really, really, really like Giannis. With him most likely being back, I mean, Drew Holiday, you could land on him. I wouldn't feel great about it. If you're going to land on like a second piece besides Giannis, I think Chris Middleton comes in at a very, very solid price tag. 7,500. He does average, I think, over 23 points per game alongside Giannis. So it's like he still has this kind of upside. We saw this last game versus Miami. He can go for 35, 40 plus at 7,500. He could end up in the optimal lineup, even though he does seem a little bit too pricey, especially if Giannis is back. That will kind of scare people off that mindset, but I do like him as a nice mid-range option there. Besides Giannis on this team, Giannis looks great. Middleton looks like a nice, solid mid-range option. Drew Holiday is just a little bit too expensive for me. Sure, you can land on him, but I don't feel great. Bobby Portis off the bench. Price really came up 6,700. I don't love it. He should see anywhere between like 22 to maybe 30 minutes if someone gets in foul trouble, like a Giannis, like a Brooke Lopez. But that price tag is 6,700. It makes him really hard to get to, but we know he has upside, so you could definitely land on him, but I don't think there's a need to get to him as of right now. Brooke Lopez, I actually do really like this price tag. He should be in line to see around 30 minutes, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, depending on if he's staying out of foul trouble, if he's playing well. And we know his massive upside is just, can he hit his shots? Last game he did not. The game before that he did. And obviously that first game with Giannis, he really didn't do much. Still 23 fantasy points, not terrible. We know he gets a ton of blocks. So I do like Brooke Lopez a good amount at 6,100. My third favorite option, obviously, I still prefer getting to Giannis and Bobby Portis, or excuse me, Giannis and Chris Middleton, but I think Brooke Lopez does come in at a pretty solid price tag. And then now more of the dart throws, like Grayson Allen. He just shot a little bit more. He actually hit his threes. So I mean, sure you can land on him, but I don't feel great. He's a okay value at best. Same thing with Pat Connaughton. Minutes have been up. He's been shooting more just because there's been no Giannis. But if I had to land on one of these cheaper guys, it'd probably be Ingles or Connaughton, just because they're kind of one of those wings where it's like if they hit some shots, they'll get extended. They can get some boards. Ingles can play make, but right now I don't love any of the dart throws down here on the Milwaukee side. I think Connaughton may be my favorite, but yeah, I don't really have much interest in the value right now on Milwaukee side. Moving on to the Miami side here, Jimmy is questionable, but he should be good to go. There's just no way Jimmy misses tomorrow. And then Bam is questionable. He should be good to go as well. So with that in mind, it's really just going to be the Jimmy and Bam show. I like them both a lot. Obviously, there's a huge price difference between the two. If I had to get to one, it'd probably be Jimmy. Bam has just been very up and down recently. Two okay games in this series so far. That first one and this last one, but He's had some very, very, very low floors recently, so I just don't know. I don't like Bam that much. It's really just Jimmy at the top for me. Struce, I think he's a fine option. He's been pretty score independent recently, which will probably keep his ownership down low. But I think he's a fair option. He should see mid 20s minutes. Probably gets extended if he's hitting some shots. So I do like him there. He really struggled to get some peripheral stats in that game the other day, but we know he's a guy who can get some rebounds. He can get some steals, some blocks, some assists. So I do like him there at 5,300. Caleb Martin, kind of like a Max Strus play, a little bit more. He's obviously a way better defender, not as good offensively. So it's just like kind of the opposite of Max Strus. Good defender, not good offensively, but he can do a little bit more peripheral stat wise, and he should have, I guess, a little bit safer of a floor when it comes to the minutes. So I think he's a fine play there at 5,000. Kyle Lowry, his minutes should probably be mid to high 20s, maybe into the 30s. So I think he's a fair play there at 4,900. Probably my favorite of these, the kind of cheaper Miami Heat guys. Gabe Vincent will start. It just his minutes aren't a guarantee. He should see anywhere from like 18 to 30. So I guess he's an okay play. Still prefer getting to Lowry or Struce over him. Kevin Love's minutes, he's one of those guys you can take a dart throw on. Played 21 minutes. It's just one of those things. Minutes aren't a guarantee. Like he played great in that first game. Only played 11 minutes in the second game. So it's like he's just more of a risky dart throw at that price tag of 4,400. Duncan Robinson had like a bubble type game. I don't trust it. If you want to take that shot, you can, but I can see him if he's coming off the bench, which he had been in that last game, and he's struggling to hit his shots, he will not get minutes. So yeah, as of right now, it's really just going to be the lower end guys will probably be just Martin, or excuse me, Struce and Lowry for me, and then probably just Jimmy, and that's it. So moving on to the second game here for the Memphis side, we have John Morant at the top coming back. I talked about this a lot when in my videos the past 2 days, or I guess the past few games for the Memphis Grizzlies. That you know, if Ja comes back with this hand injury, he's probably going to be super, super low owned. And, there's that chance that his hand injury really messes up his shot, or it's one of those things where you get him at extremely low ownership and he's fine and he goes off. And that's kind of what happened last slate. Obviously, it was at the very end of the slate where they finally ruled him in, and so that kind of kept his ownership down a little bit, little bit more. Like I think he actually was like 1% owned. If we knew earlier, he'd probably been like I'd say maybe 12% at most. But yeah, it really worked out for the few people that did play him. Almost went for a massive triple double, almost an 80-point fantasy point game. But I mean, it looks like he's good to go. Got to the free throw line a good amount there. Was able to shoot it. So yeah, I really like Ja there at 46 or 9,600. He played 42 minutes. Looks like his hand is fine. So I like him a good amount there. With him back, it really, really does hurt the usage of a ton of these guys like Triple J, Desmond Bain. I don't love their price tags. I'd rather get to like a Chris Middleton on the opposite side. The first game there in the mid range, kind of same price range as a Bain and Jackson Jr. And I think Chris Middleton's floor is safer and ceiling is just as high as either one of them. So with that in mind, these guys are more just secondary options. If I had to get to one, I'd probably prefer Bain. Jackson Jr. is just very foul prone. Now he has stayed out of foul trouble, but I'd just rather trust Bain, a guy who's just more score independent at times. So I think I'd prefer him over Jackson Jr. We both know they have great ceilings. It's just I don't know. It's just hard to get to those guys when Ja is back, and he's not that much more expensive than the other two. So right now, just really focusing on Ja, maybe a little bit of Bain. Tillman coming off that career game there in the second game, came back down to earth, at least point wise there in the second or third game, excuse me. Still went for 30 fantasy points, so that's kind of what we're expecting from Tillman. Not going to shoot the ball a ton, but if he's going to play huge minutes like last game, 39 minutes, I think he's a fair play, 5,700. Now his price tag did come up, so I think he's more of an okay play slash fair play. Wouldn't that technically land on him, but on a small two game slate like this, it's going to be hard to find value that you trust. So the balance build is going to be the way that a lot of people go. So if you want to get risky, you're going to have to land on some value or land on some weird pieces, and he might be one of them. Moving on to Luke Kennard, fair play, 4,800. He's been very low owned the whole series, but he's only playing mid 20s minutes. Hasn't been too aggressive. He was aggressive in that first game or the second game there, excuse me, and then he did nothing in that second half. So really hard to trust him, but we know he has decent upside. He will play the minutes. So if he catches on fire, wouldn't be surprised if he gets extended or he gets there in 25 minutes. So he looks like a fair play. Dylan Brooks, 4,700. I'm assuming he'll be popular just because he's pretty cheap and he's a guy who will come out there and just absolutely chuck the ball. I don't think I think he's an okay play at best. Like, sure, he can go for mid 20s, maybe 30s if he's playing really well, but I don't know. It's an interesting price tag. It's just he sucks. He's just so bad. So it's really hard to land on him and feel great about it. So right now, just we'll wait and see what the ownership is like on him. Tyus Jones, he did play 17 minutes, but that's just not enough to get him to that price tag. Santi, I guess, will be like a forced value on the slate. It could work out. Maybe Tillman does get in foul trouble. They're going to have to go big. Santi's like one of the only few guys on the team that are actually above like 6'8". So he would get extended. So I do like him as like a forced value play if you think that happens to Tillman. They did throw in Roddy a little bit, 13 minutes. Don't think it's enough to get to him. Same thing with Conchar. He only played 9. So yeah, right now, not a lot of interest in these cheaper guys for the Grizzlies. Right now, it's just going to be Ja for me. Maybe a little bit of Bane, maybe a tad bit of Kennard, and maybe forcing Santi in as some value. And then on the Lakers side, love LeBron, love AD. I still prefer LeBron over AD, even though AD has kind of been slightly better, 61, 38, and 65. So I'm assuming he will probably be a little bit more popular than LeBron. But we know the upside are there with LeBron. He's pretty safe when it comes to his floor as well. So I slightly prefer them, but they both look great. D'Lo looks fine in the mid range. He had a nice bounce back spot there, 34.5 fantasy points. It's kind of what you want when you land on D'Lo. He's going to play about 30 minutes. He can do a little bit of everything. Obviously, coming off that terrible game, that second game had a nice bounce back spot. So price didn't change. I still think he looks very solid. I like Austin Reeves a good amount. Played 35 minutes. Only went for 25.5 fantasy points, but he did have 9 potential assists and only got 2. So a lot of people missed shots when he threw the ball to them. So I like him. He's coming in. He's playing very solid minutes, mid 30s. There are those games where if he's hot, he will shoot the ball. He's aggressive. He can get to the free throw line. So I think he comes in as a very solid play there. Rui price was really jumped up, but he's been super super solid off the bench scoring. So you can land on him. I don't mind it. But now at 5,200, it's just like the minutes are fine. His minutes did come back down 22. So I think he's a fair play. He is definitely still very risky. Let me be clear. He's definitely very risky because he's scoring a bit anything in foul trouble. But yeah, if he's not hitting shots, he will get limited. I will just say that. Vanderbilt will be another force value play. Minutes have not been great. They just kind of been going to him here and there. But he could have one of those games where he goes off for a few blocks, steals, points. So I guess you could force him. I guess he'd be slightly better force play than Santi, but they're about the same. Schroeder will play some minutes, played 24. I guess he's an okay punt throw or dart throw, punt play, whatever you want to call it. Same thing with Troy Brown, kind of mid teens. And then Beasley will get sprinkled in for mid teens as well, maybe low teens. So right now, as you can see, there's not a lot of value under 4,500, even around the 4,500 range. If we just go to real fast, there's not a lot to like. Vincent, Love, Allen, Connaughton, I can already tell, Connaughton's going to be super chalky. Same thing with Vanderbilt, and same thing with probably with Santi Aldama. Those will probably be the 3 chalkiest guys under 4,500, and they're all super, super risky, right? So it's like that's going to make it hard to pay up, have a star-studded lineup, and it's going to be more of a balance build tomorrow. So if you want to go the risky route, the more contrarian route, definitely go stars and scrubs. If you want to be a little bit safer, go with the balance build. So right now, I'm really focusing on Giannis there at his price tag 10-4. Love him in the spot. Who else do I like here? Um, I do like Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton a good amount. I like Austin Reeves at 5,400. I think he comes at a very solid price tag. I think I'm gonna go Chris Middleton, and then I think I'm gonna go Jimmy for now. Obviously, as you can see, doesn't leave you with you a lot of room. 4,300 to left over to fill in all the other spots. So it's like you're going to be scraping the bottom of the barrel for some value. So that it's tough. But I think right now this is how I'm going to start. I'll obviously update my lineup tomorrow and my core plays. Maybe we get some news that someone sits or someone gets inserted into the starting lineup for some reason. But yeah, right now, really focusing on trying to get Reeves, Middleton, Butler, and Giannis into my lineup. So hope you guys liked the video. Hit the like button and subscribe. I'll have obviously more in-depth slate breakdown and write up on my Patreon link down below, as well as a PrizePicks video coming out tomorrow morning. So make sure to stay tuned for that. Hit that like button, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.